everybody. Before we get going, don't forget to hit like or leave a comment to increase the odds of my next upload showing up in your YouTube feed. But let's get straight into the video. Let's get after it.
What does a massive bee die off and a massive fish die off have in common? A lot. I think in this video you'll find out humans were not meant to be here as it is forever. So now you might have seen the recent headlines coming up about the major bee die-off, about scientists running crazy trying to figure out what is going on, and that 60 to 70% of United States bees have literally died and are gone. But do you want to know what I remember seeing last year before these headlines came out? Articles and videos and researchers all coming out saying they were finding aluminum in bees' wings. Contamination may be behind the insect decline. This is June 10th, 2015. TikTok is a very accredited source, and also videos right beside me coming out saying the same thing last year. Fast forward to now, the headlines: millions of bees have died this year. It's the worst bee loss in recorded history, and it's getting worse since they published this. But again, this problem is not unique to just bees, but fish and all life everywhere. And it was Albert Einstein who said that if all the bees disappeared, humanity would disappear with them. We are seeing mass die-offs in every single sector: birds, fish, whales, even our own kind. We know it's not sustainable, and guess what? It wasn't meant to be sustainable, at least not this era, because there is an end coming soon.
60 to 70% is insanity. At a rate like that, how are we going to have any left this time next year? But I think it's pretty obvious what's causing this issue. They're spraying all these heavy metals in our atmosphere basically 24 hours a day. And now all of a sudden we see all of our bees are dying off, which we really need for our way of life. And when they test the bees after they've passed, they find an unnatural level of the same metals they're spraying in our atmosphere. I really wonder what the issue could be. They're just going to destroy everything because they don't need it. They're all going to be living underground. All of their food is going to come from a completely different system, so they don't have to worry about messing this one up.
We've got pictures of what we're told is an extraterrestrial alien and a crashed UFO from somewhere in South America, but I can explain all that later. Let me just show you the pictures now. Here's what looks like someone examining that downed UFO, that crashed UFO. And here's a better view of it. This definitely looks weird to me. That's something, and it ain't no airplane. But the best pictures of the extraterrestrial are coming up next. Look at this. It's like it's laying on a table or something. I don't know if it's sleeping, resting, or something else. And here we go with a better view. That's definitely not humanoid, but not a human being as we have here on Earth. And there's something else about that extraterrestrial alien. Check out the fingers. It has 3 really long fingers just on the one hand. I'm sure it's got 2 hands, but we only see one hand here in the picture. And that's not anything like us, except it does have fingernails, so that's something. Now, before I go, I'm going to show the face of that extraterrestrial alien one more time. Like I said earlier, we're being told that this is from a crashed or downed UFO somewhere in South America, and this was what was inside of that craft. Some type of extraterrestrial alien. Now, those photos were just leaked. I don't know how old they are, but hey, it's something. And you should definitely decide for yourself what you think.
First of all, it had 4 fingers. You could see the thumb sticking out from behind its hand. But I'm completely convinced this is just some silicone model that they've taken photos of. I think the one thing that keeps me from being convinced is that it's laying there, supposedly dead. Otherwise, why would it be laying on a still table being perfectly still so that they could take photos of it? And its eyes are wide open. And it doesn't appear, looking at the photo, that it even has the capability of blinking. Every eye that I've ever seen has to have some way of hydrating itself or it'll dry up. So if these things have these massive eyeballs and they have no way to blink to re-moisturize their eyes whenever the air's hitting them, that doesn't make any sense. But I didn't notice any kind of lines over the eyes that would indicate that there's extra skin folded up there that could come down to moisturize the eye whenever it gets too dry. But one thing I found pretty interesting, if these are actually legitimate photos, isn't it odd how similar those long, creepy looking fingers look to what we're seeing on celebrities now? How they all seem to be having these long, large knuckle, skinny witch fingers. It looks almost identical to that. But that is one of the creepiest ways to make a hand, so if you're going to make something and fake something and create a hand for a fake alien so that you can post photos of it online, you're going to try to model the fingers in such a way that makes it appear creepy and unnatural, which is the perfect description of these celebrities' hands right now. But what do y'all think about this? Do you think these are real alien photos, or is this just something else to keep us distracted?
Guys, the FBI, the Pentagon, the White House, and Congress have all now officially opened up a brand new investigation. There are scientists that are directly connected to NASA, nuclear weapons, and classified military programs that keep on going missing, and nobody knows why.
The FBI is investigating possible connections in the cases of 10 missing or dead scientists and staff who worked at sensitive nuclear or space technology.
So ever since 2022, 11 different scientists that are connected to America's most classified programs have now gone missing under suspicious circumstances. And I cannot believe I'm about to say this right now, but the FBI just confirmed that they are officially looking for connections between all of them. 2 different employees from the same exact nuclear weapons lab vanished weeks apart. Both of them left behind their car, their keys, their wallet, and their phone, and one of their phones was actually factory reset before they disappeared. A NASA engineer just randomly vanished off the planet while hiking and they were never found, and then a retired Air Force general walked out of his house and was never seen again. Those 2 people actually worked together on the same exact classified program. Hello? One of them was actually a military intelligence officer who worked for DARPA. He was gone right before he was supposed to testify to Congress about UFOs, and his cause was never confirmed. And on Kalshi right now, people have bet almost $100,000 that the government is going to confirm that aliens exist before 2027. I am going to keep on watching this story. This is obviously insane.
And it's actually 12 now. We just had I guess you would call him a researcher, somebody kind of like me, an online personality that's digging into conspiracy theories, though I have a feeling this guy is way more highly educated than I'll ever be. But, like several people before him, for several weeks before they claim he took his own life, this guy was walking around telling everybody that was willing to listen, I love my life, I'm in no way thinking of harming myself or ending my own life. But it kind of ticks me off to hear the FBI come out and say that they're opening an official investigation into the disappearances and the mysterious deaths. Because while even though some of the actual victims themselves didn't suspect that the FBI was in on any of this, the FBI would almost have to be involved considering how long this has been happening and how many people are involved in it. It looks so suspicious, in fact, that if the FBI is not involved, we probably need to completely do away with that entire agency. This story has gotten so highly suspicious at this point, I think it's no longer possible for the government to just come out and tell the public that all of this is just a coincidence. And I think they know that, and I think that's why they're opening an investigation. There's already a narrative out there that the government is taking out top scientists, and they've got to move quick, come up with their own narrative, and start flooding the news headlines with that. They've got to hurry up and deflect. They've got to hurry up and point the finger at someone else. Because right now, nearly everyone is looking at them.
I started the Institute for one reason, the Institute. I started it as a public-facing persona to disclose anti-gravity technology through, because I told Mark this. If you stick your neck out in public, at least someone notices if your head gets chopped off. If you stick your neck out in private, they will bury you. They will burn down your house while you're sleeping in your bed, and it won't even make the news. That's why the Institute exists. So it's a platform of credibility and public-facing persona. So sorry, my laptop's falling. So I need to establish that at least 3 months ahead of time, which is basically now, to be real. 3 months ahead of time is basically today. I need a documentary. And the reason I need the documentary is simple and it's at the same time. We need to tell the story. The thing is, Do you believe in the secret space program? Do you subscribe to the SSP being real? Oh, hold on. Let me check my Intel notebook to find the correct organization name. I don't know. Hold on. I'm talking about the Military Industrial Complex, SSP, aka Lockheed Boeing Northrop. My hands have been burned to and back as I've been typing. Because you can beam me through there and through there. And you can get a 3D image of what I'm typing. Because this computer doesn't have a Wi-Fi card. You can't hack it. But you can maybe get a 3D image of me typing. So like we just did that. And did that as an act of pure desperation. And guess what? I feel better immediately. Like, my hands still burn because there's damage. But it's like my body relaxed when we barricaded. And it was like, oh, like relief. Like immediately.
I don't believe that I just can't, because I spoke to her 4 hours before and she told me time and time again, I'm not going to commit. I am not going to have an accident. If there's something suspicious about my death.
So that was Amy Eskridge, who passed, I think, 4 years ago. And like so many other researchers, she was going around for weeks beforehand telling everybody, I'm not going to harm myself. I'm not going to harm anyone else. I love my life. Only then to be found to have seemingly taken her own life. But you see how suspicious this is. You can't just have these situations play out on repeat and just keep telling everybody it's just a coincidence. Or, like they've tried to do so many times in the past, just blame it on psychosis. This person was experiencing a mental break. Mental breaks are a common thing. They do happen routinely. But it's not as common that when someone has one of these psychological episodes, they end up offing themselves. And no one walks around for 2 or 3 weeks telling everybody they know, I love my life, I would never do anything to harm myself, and then has a psychological break. But the main reason I wanted to put this clip in there, which, it relates to what we're talking about, but the hand burning thing. And this is someone who works with people who develop this type of technology. She knows probably that this technology actually exists, and probably just through inference knows, like, hey, my hands are burning. I know they're wanting to know what I'm up to. They're probably using that secret technology I'm aware of. I would say it's highly likely that the technology she's worried is being used against her was probably shown to her. She probably even knows the people who created that technology. So she's probably not only aware of this technology existing, but she probably was in communication with the people who were building the thing while they were going through the process. They're likely colleagues or even friends. But I thought that was really interesting to see someone who would be in the know about a technology like that existing, who is claiming that it's being used against them. Outside of the government coming out and just telling the public what kind of technology it has access to, that's about as good a confirmation as we're ever going to get on something like this.
This is David Wilcox, and this morning he became the 12th scientist to unalive himself. Take a listen to what he said on his final live stream.
Every day that I have on Earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that, because frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on. It's a little bit scary.
His last live, the thumbnail, was a picture of Trump in his Jesus robe. And it was, has Trump lost his mind? Is he the Antichrist?
No, it was not.
Yes, it was.
Oh, no.
I think this is really weird. This is from his last live.
Okay, here we go.
And I am so grateful, and we'll do the typical lead out here, and A-N-D, not E-N-D, and scene.
I mean, I don't know. So, like, the bigger question is, like, what is actually going on? Whether these people, they were, is like,
why?
What are the secrets and why?
On February 19th, Trump tweeted out, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, and UFOs, and any and all other information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America.
And what is your takeaway from that particular message right there?
It's
right?
Jeffrey Epstein 2.0. We're releasing all the files, except there's 3 million we haven't seen, and they're going to release some information that they have, and they got to whack everybody that's going to contradict her or come out and say, hey, sorry, I am an academic. I've been studying this for 20 years. We actually have different information. One by one, they're plucking them out, and they're gone.
Is Kash Patel really going to get to the bottom of this?
Of course not.
You know, is he actually serious?
Oh my, you know who did this?
What?
Who, these people?
Who?
Tyler Robinson.
It does seem like that's what it's all about. They're about to release this new narrative surrounding the whole UAP alien thing. They're going to give us a carefully crafted story that's probably going to go back several decades, explaining how they first came into contact with these beings, what the beings claimed to want whenever they arrived, and I'm very much leaning toward the idea that they're going to frame it as if when the so-called aliens arrived, they showed up in a threatening manner and our government saved us. But anytime something of any major significance happens that needs to be reported on to the general public, the people in charge don't sit down and start writing out a list of all of the known facts and details surrounding this event. They're not concerned with any of that. All they're worried about is how can we frame this story in such a way that it convinces the public to go along with our agenda. And if that means leaving out details or adding in details that aren't true, even if it means completely manufacturing entire elements of a story, all they care about is manipulating the masses. But if they're about to release their narrative, and there are a lot of people out there with evidence that can combat that narrative, people who have shown themselves in the past to be willing to be vocal when they see something happening that shouldn't be happening, they almost don't have any choice but to eliminate those people. If they don't, that's basically a guarantee that their plan is going to fail, and they don't like for their plans to fail.
Wait till you see what else I have found having to do with David Wilcock. Do you know that on his stream, he just found out live that his biographer died as well? You know his close friends are coming out, like this female that said, I've known him for this long, he would never ever do anything like this. Did you also know that he actually put up this tweet a little while back and says, I would never do anything to myself? You know, we have all these UFO researchers and nuclear scientists, all this disappearance. Well, I just got so much to show you. Let's start with the light stuff. Right here we see that David Wilcock just finds out his biographer died, literally in the middle of his live stream. Let's watch.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's sad to hear Winfrey just passed away. Bright butterfly wing. That is so weird, because last night, I was lying in bed and thinking, wouldn't it be sad if Winfrey passed away? He's the guy that wrote the Reincarnation of Edgar Casey book.
All right, now let's kick it up a notch. The really crazy stuff is still coming. Right here we say that David Wilcock was just talking about all the crazy disappearing happening lately. And I'm about to show you a girl who brings up the disappearances before she disappeared herself.
Every day that I have on earth is a gift and a blessing, and I'm very grateful for that, because frankly, people are disappearing. Scientists are going missing. Now they're saying they're going to investigate this. The president himself is saying they're going to look into this and see if anything's going on.
Can't make it up. Craziest stuff is almost here. But first, my buddy Minutes of Horror dug up this clip of this one researcher who disappeared, but she was actually asked before she disappeared about, you know, disappearing scientists.
Giving a presentation, she's asked about disappearing.
So what about the innovator who's afraid of disappearing?
That's a whole other problem. I think doing it in the public is better in that case. That's a different...
It still doesn't mean you won't disappear. I mean, even if you do it in the public, it still don't mean that the inventor won't disappear.
Can't make it up. Finally, do you remember the Lockheed Martin insider video that I did when I told you that what he was saying was that we would see all these crazy events take over America, and it would start with fires being everywhere, and eventually there'd be a great human harvest, because allegedly, for entertainment, not true, you know, the government has a deal with these benevolent spiritual beings. And this is still the very tip of the iceberg.
If the information I read was correct, then that David Wilcox video that he made where he was actually talking about the scientist disappearing, I'm pretty sure he put that video out just 2 days before he died. That's pretty crazy that this guy posted a video talking about these disappearing scientists, and then literally 2 days later, he gets wrapped up in it himself. But you would almost think that taking a guy like that out would be over the line, which maybe it is. Maybe that's the reason that they've announced that they're going to launch this investigation, is because taking that guy out made too many people do a double take. But maybe that's the situation. Maybe they decided to launch this investigation because they took out a guy who was very vocal about a specific conspiracy, and then when they took him out, it all but confirmed that that conspiracy is not only true, but still active. And so then they kind of forced themselves into having to launch this investigation to, at the very least, give the perception to the public that they are unaware of what's going on, or at the very least not involved in it. But unfortunately, this will probably continue to take place for however many years humanity has left, because the government knows even if the entire population knew exactly who was responsible for doing this, there's basically nothing that anyone can do, because we personally do not have an FBI or a CIA or any kind of law enforcement personnel that we can send to go collect these people. Even if the FBI were to come out and tell us, we know who did this, it was a single individual or it was a group, and then they give us the entire list of names of everyone that was involved in that group, everyone that was involved in taking out these scientists, they'll just come up with some reason as to why they don't think it's a good idea to prosecute, and no one will pay for their crimes. Because we've seen it time and time again. If you're in the government, if you're an elite, if you're in one of these groups, if you're connected to royalty, you can literally get away with murder. The laws do not apply to you. And they know that. They know that we know that, but they're not worried about it because the laws do not apply to them.
Did you know that there's actual superpowers you can learn? And they get you focusing on these, made up superpowers so that you don't actually obtain the real ones. Even the CIA has files on it, admitting that they're worried that people will learn this stuff. The first thing that they're worried about is obviously hypnosis. So a lot of people don't realize that you can do what's called shock hypnosis, which is where you shock someone into a state of hypnosis immediately. It's usually done a handshake or something of that manner. And it's usually confusing one side of the brain and bypassing the reasoning side of your brain right to the other side, where it just goes to action, and the actions are taken by people without the reasoning part of their brain because they're shocked and it's bypassed. So this is something that they're worried about, obviously, because if you have agents or you have a building that can only be accessed by certain people and you have someone that's learned hypnosis, they're able to access anything they want. They're able to hypnotize anyone, and they just get to wherever they need to be. So they've got to train people specially to combat this, and makes it very difficult. If you want to see a great example of hypnosis at its peak, Darren Brown is a pretty good place to start. He's got a lot of documentaries, and you probably know of him, but he even has ones where he hypnotizes someone into an assassination. So not a real one, obviously, a fake one, but it's really interesting to see because he was trying to prove that it is possible for agencies to use people as Manchurian candidates, and he proves this. And the next thing that I think is a superpower, and it's one that they definitely state as being an issue if someone learned it, is the fact that people can read body language. And if you use this in unison with hypnosis, then excellent. So you want to see things like, directional looking when it comes to asking someone a question, or covering their face if they're saying something, is usually they're hiding something. Everything has meaning, like up here, whether it's on the side, people grab their throat and neck like this. People lift their shoulders These all have meanings, and if you look into this and you use it in unison with hypnosis, you start to become someone with a human superpower. And a lot of people don't realize this and don't focus on it, and it's relatively easy to learn. It's something that it's a weapon. You basically become a walking weapon.
I don't think most people understand just how well hypnotism can work. I've watched a lot of the Darren Brown stuff that he was talking about. I've actually watched the Manchurian Candidate movie thing that he put out as well, and it's very fascinating. I would probably sit through it a second time, which is saying a lot for something that's essentially a documentary. But that shock hypnosis that he's talking about, a lot of people aren't even aware that that's a thing. And there's a great video on YouTube where Darren Brown is explaining how shock hypnosis works, and he actually gives a really good example of how to use it. So say you're walking up to someone on the street, you're walking toward each other, you stick your hand out like this because you're fixing to try to shake their hand, and then they stick their hand out, and right before your hands meet, drop that hand, raise another, and snap right in front of their face. Such an unexpected, and this is my memory off of a video I watched 4 years ago, so I may get the explanation a little off. But if I'm remembering correctly, it is a matter of the unexpected action that kind of jostles their brain and throws them into a mild state of shock. And then at that point, right at that moment, you are basically at an ideal state to be hypnotized. It's as if something to do with your brain trying to figure out what you just witnessed lets all your guard down. But in the video I watched, he would literally walk up to people who are crossing the street in a crosswalk, act like he's going to shake their hand, snap in front of their face, and then just tell them, you can't move anywhere, you're stuck, and then walk away. And these people would literally stand there for 5 minutes in the street trying to get their feet off the ground, but they couldn't. It was as if they were glued to the crosswalk. But if you can have that level of control over someone in just a literal moment, what kind of control could you have over a person who has spent decades sitting and watching your programming, which has had elements in it that are specifically designed on the subconscious level to hypnotize its viewers? I think a lot of people have this misconception that just because they're aware that the television is used as a plot device, that it's driving a narrative that the government wants everyone to believe that may or may not be true depending on what's being talked about. I think a lot of people are under the misconception that because they're aware someone is trying to manipulate them, they're no longer being manipulated. But you can't watch these carefully crafted Hollywood productions and not in any way whatsoever be influenced by it. Maybe I need to learn how to do this shock hypnosis. I've always been really fascinated by all this mentalism stuff, and a lot of it's just pattern recognition and things like that. How cool would it be if a viewer spotted me on the street and come up to shake my hand, and I used shock hypnosis to convince them that they just had the greatest interaction with another human being that they've ever experienced. I'm just saying, a lot of fun could be had with something like this.
Worried about the wrong thing with AI, in my humble opinion. People are worried about losing their job. Right? It's a perfectly valid thing to worry about. But I think you're worried about the wrong thing. There's two other things you could really worry about. Well, firstly, the cost of running an authoritarian regime like the Stasi has come down by 10 orders of magnitude in the last 3 years. Used to be, if you had to run the Stasi, if you were in East Germany back in the day, that was like 20% of GDP on spying on people and keeping an eye out. Okay, that's now, you've got a bunch of cameras, you've got AI, everyone's got a phone on them, and we're tracking everything at all times. Okay? That's a worry, because we live in liberal democracies, and we're very lucky to, but our leaders, how long will they resist that temptation? You know, digital ID is... what happened during COVID? But digital ID is terrifying. There's lots of lessons from history about digital ID that we should take very seriously. Because even if the good guys are in charge when it comes in, well, at what point does the world turn and people vote for a bad guy, and then they have the power? More Jews died in the Netherlands than in France. You know why? Better records. Holland kept better records, so they knew where everyone was. That's terrifying. You know, the idea of you go digital ID, yeah, it's great, fabulous, give them all the information, great, fine. We don't know what's coming down the pike. I think that thing about, it's about, and Thomas Sowell gets quoted a lot, rightly so, he's a brilliant man. There's no solutions, only trade-off. You know, safety and freedom. Well, where do you want to be on that line? You need a little bit of both. So, I mean, that's one thing for AI is, okay, the job, fine, you might be worried about your job, but you've got transferable skills. And if you've got critical thinking and you're a smart person, jobs for life is gone, but you'll find something else to do. You will find something else, great, you'll be all right. Trust in that, trust in your independence. That, you know, if you don't work for that company, you work for a different company, you'll find something, you know, have some belief in yourself. And then the idea that you go running a authoritarian regime becomes very cheap, so we have to resist that. That civilization is a clearing in the forest. We need to stand very firm against any authoritarian regime, whether it comes from the left or the right, whether it comes from a good place or a bad place. We have to resist that.
Unfortunately, nobody in our government has this mentality. No one in our government wants to resist the idea of an authoritarian regime. They want to run toward that idea at full speed. That's the reason that it's going to be so cheap and easy to run an authoritarian regime, is because they've been for decades setting it up to make it run that way. This is their end goal. And I'm not convinced that there's a man alive today that we could put in charge of running an authoritarian regime, having full total control, and that power not go to his head. That's just too much power for one person. Imagine you wake up tomorrow and you can do literally anything you want to do, but if anybody else on the planet wants to do that, they have to get permission from you. Tell me that wouldn't affect the way you look at things. Tell me that wouldn't have an impact on the decisions that you make and how you make them. But where he's talking about not panicking and freaking out because the industry that you currently work in is being taken over by AI and robotics, because I work online, I'm not experiencing what a lot of people are experiencing right now. I know people who are literally watching their job disappear right now. There are people who are working with robots already who are helping to train that robot with the intention of the robot eventually taking over their position, therefore leaving them unemployed. And if you refuse to help train your replacement, you'll just find yourself unemployed sooner. But because of how I make a living, and because of the fact that I'm not in a position where this is going to affect me the way it's going to affect most people, I kind of feel like I don't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to giving an opinion on this. But I will say this. Panicking and freaking out about things that are completely outside of your control is never going to help your situation. Instead of using all that brain power to worry about things that you can't do anything about, start using that brain power to look at alternate methods of making a living. That's literally what I had to do. I got injured at work. I still had the job, but I couldn't physically work it, so eventually I had to walk away from it. For several months, I wasn't even able to walk around on my own. So for basically half a year, I wasn't making anything. I was getting that temporary disability check from the insurance company, but that's not enough to live off of. But I knew at the end of that I wasn't going to be able to go back and get another manual labor job, which is what I've worked my entire life. I've always worked in maintenance or construction, some sort of installation job. And as of right now, several years after the accident, I'm still not supposed to be lifting more than 35 pounds. So my options are extremely limited, and I've got a wife and 4 kids to take care of. But in the end, I figured it out, and it turned out to be one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So if you're one of the many who are worried about a lack of future potential employment, don't wait until you've lost your job and now you don't know where your next meal's coming from before you start trying to make moves. Probably about 95% of people right now should be trying to transition into a different job. You know, I think what I may actually do, because I get comments from people regularly asking if I can give them tips and advice on how to start a YouTube channel. I think I'm going to make a really dense, informative tutorial video on how to create YouTube content. And I'll probably upload it to a separate channel or something, because it's definitely not going to go along with the type of content that I make on this channel. But I think I might make something like that, just release it, and maybe I'll drop a link below my daily uploads that people can access it that way. I bet in just my personal life, I've told over 100 people face to face that they should start a YouTube channel. Not one person has tried it. But most people get this idea in their head that it's way too complicated, they'll never be able to figure it out, and it's easy, it just takes time. But I think I might make a tutorial video, and that way you guys can see exactly how I do it. You could follow my system step by step and just come up with your own ideas. I won't make any money off of it, because I'm going to have to post it to a separate channel that's not monetized and just drop the link for everybody. But I really feel like that would help a lot of people out. And most people will tell you that you've missed the opportunity with YouTube, that you can't do it anymore. Well, let me tell you, that is complete nonsense. That is people who have this scarcity mentality, and they don't want you on the platform competing against their content. But it wouldn't matter if every person on earth had a YouTube account. If you're putting out well-made, valuable content, people are going to watch it. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end the video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to click like and leave a comment if you want to increase the odds of my next upload showing up in your YouTube feed. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.